welcome the moderator of the next session, Steve Clements.
Greetings, everybody. I'm Steve Clemens. I'm Washington editor-at-large of The Atlantic. It's a real pleasure to be with all of you here. We're going to have a fast hour. This has the chance to be the most explosive, exciting session of the entire GlobSec forum, so I hope you'll be very engaged. Let me call to the stage first Miroslav Lajcik, who is going to join us, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs here of Slovakia. Going to sit here. Peter Szijjártó, I'm going to put in the middle. Minister of Foreign Affairs of Hungary. I should say Minister of Foreign Affairs and Trade. My friend Witold Wojciechowski, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Poland.
Hi, my friend. Thank you.
And finally, Václav Kolaja, the Deputy Foreign Minister of the Czech Republic. Thanks very much for joining us.
Okay.
Greetings, everyone. Our job today is to discuss the Visegrad perspectives of a new Europe. And I guess where I'd like to start out and ask, I'm going to start with Miroslav, our foreign minister here of our host country, and thank you very much for hosting us here for this GlobSec forum, always impressive, is to ask you, is there a Visegrad perspective of a new Europe? Is there a uniform, consolidated perspective? You're partly host today, and I'm going to ask each of the three to critique what you got wrong as you share this perspective with us.
Well, Visegrad perspective of New Europe is the European Union's perspective for a better Europe, because we are part of European Union, and the way we see ourselves is to be part of all the European solutions and not to be part of any of the European problems. We have not generated problems European Union has been facing lately, and we see our role as constructive players in finding the answers to these challenges.
Peter, what would be the framework that you think is important? What are the benchmarks that are important? Hungary's been in the news an awful lot. Some of your brethren inside the European Union are not pleased with the direction of Hungary today. So what message do you want to send them as you look forward in a new Europe of what those benchmarks are for all countries and how Hungary is either going to lag behind that or lead in that?
You know, our interest is European Union to be strong again. We have to recognize that we have lost a lot of competitiveness recently, and I think it should be an ultimate goal to regain it. And I think this is the basis for the debate, how to get to a situation when we can say that European Union is strong again. And our position is that in order to have a strong European integration, you need strong member states. We think that no other authorities should be taken away from the member states. So our strategy is that a strong integration cannot be strong if it is based on weak member states. You have to base an integration on strong member states. That's how it gets strong. That's our strategy.
What if everyone's not strong, but you've got membership of the Union? There's been a lot of focus on questions about a two-speed Europe. Witold, you were quoted in this, said that would be an incredible disaster for Europe. But the broad question, if you can't prescribe strength, if you can't just say everyone would be strong, what do you do to accommodate the different features, different factors, different domestic organization inside countries without falling into a two-speed Europe trap?
Oh, they got easier questions.
But you are bigger.
But you and I have a history, so I felt comfortable. I want to say 2 years ago we got Witold to laugh, and someone said it was historic.
I do this again. I think that we have a common history and common experience that we were living in a divided Europe for years. And we do everything which is possible, we do not spare our efforts to keep the Europe united. I think that the idea that Europe's supposed to be a multi-speed Europe or two-speed Europe, whatever, is the recipe for disaster. It's an idea to come back to the part of splendid isolation of a part of the Western Europe, and a part of rest of the Europe which will be subordinated to this splendid isolation part of Europe. So I think that it's a wrong idea. How to avoid this split and separation? I think we have to think over the concept of integration. Maybe the concept is too ambitious in political domain, for instance. it's too easy it's too early, for instance, to think about the governing bodies in European Union, political governing bodies, because we do not have a criteria how to elect or how to select these governing bodies by the democratic way, by the democratic institutions. So I think that it's supposed to be some kind of a pause right now in European integration, some time for the reflection about the single European market, about the political concept, and first, and also, maybe not the first, but simultaneously, we have to think also about external threats, which have an important influence on the position of the European Union, on the domestic situation of the European Union.
Václav, let me ask you, we've had various perspectives thrown out here, none too direct and concrete about what a vision of a new Europe would look like. But let me ask you a somewhat pointed question. When these four nations became members of Europe, and as Europe has grown, part of the deal is to look at this package of what I'm told are 80,000 regulations that are part of the acquis communautaire. And nations, as Europe grow, kind of do a deal. They get support from Europe, but in turn, they change internally to fix themselves to become more and more European so that they can fit together. And I'm interested in whether you think that the Visegrad nations, the Czech Republic, are living up to that deal as you see it, or whether there are problems today and that deal, that acquis communautaire, needs to be renegotiated and redefined.
Yeah, obviously, I think it is in all four Visegrad countries that we all consider the European integration really important for or key strategic thing for our freedom, security, and prosperity. And the question is the European Union in its current form a perfect body? Definitely not. But I think it is really important to perhaps listen to our people's concerns, because what do they want from the European integration? Basically, they want some added value beyond your statehood. They want the European Union to bring them more security, more prosperity. And obviously, you cannot expect the support of your public if you are just not able to provide them this, or you are too slow to address the concerns of the people.
Peter, let me ask you the same question. I know that Hungary's been trying to sort of deal with issues of foreign universities, journalists, sort of the concern about external influence. Your President Orbán has been sort of out there, if you will, on some of this. Do you feel like the deal in joining Europe is not working for you internally? Because part of the things that are being challenged, or at least raised, are ones that were supposedly resolved when Hungary joined Europe. I'm just interested in how you see that.
I mean, our interest is to have a strong European Union, because we understand Hungary can only be strong within a strong European Union. So I hear a lot in newspapers about hook seat and all this kind of stupid stuff, sorry to say that. No one wants to lead Hungary out of European Union. We want to be in a strong European Union. We have our place in the European Union, and the public support for membership in European Union is extremely high in Hungary. But if you ask the people, just as it was elaborated by our Czech colleague, whether we need reforms in the European Union to make it better, of course we do. And are we facing very, let's say, historic challenges? Yes, we are facing historic challenges. Is it obvious that we have debate about the future of Europe? Of course we have a debate about the future of Europe, because we are 28 of us, or we'll be 27, and it's obvious that we might see things with a different approach when it comes to such kind of historic challenges. So what I would like to avoid is that if you want to make a debate and if you are out of the mainstream, which happens with us quite often, then you are immediately considered as not European. And I think it is not a European approach to consider someone as not European if he or she is not representing the mainstream position. Because what is today mainstream might not be mainstream tomorrow. So my position is that we should not let these debates go emotional. Should not let these debates go emotional, because immediately after we put these debates on an emotional track, it's impossible to have a consensus at the very end. That's why we are always pushing for rational debates. And I understand that in this world of media, when you have like, I don't know, 180 tweet possibilities in a tweet, or if you have like 30-second sound bites, it's very complicated to speak in a comprehensive manner. And it's very easy for you and for others to say that foreign universities, journalists, and then create a context. But it's very unfair to countries, very unfair to the people of those countries, very unfair to these people, because they made a decision whom to govern those countries. So I think we should have much more comprehensive and much more fair debates on a rational basis of common sense and not emotions.
Thank you. I want to just note that Miroslav Lajcak is the only member of the panel that is on Twitter. So you're the only one who has the direct prospect of direct messaging Donald Trump, for whatever that's worth. And I'm sure you look forward to that opportunity.
Be nice with me, please.
But let me ask you, again, in thinking about envisioning a new Europe, there is a tension, and I tried to stop you in the green room from coordinating a unified answer. I wanted to kind of get an anti-collusion movement going against you. But if you were to sort of step out of your role for a minute and sort of talk about what some of the fault lines are, and they may not be big ones, but just differences of opinion that within the Visegrad group, there's a sort of important, I would say, as Peter said, sort of an important discussion, a reasonable debate. And we could even go outside, what would you not like to see evolve in this flank of Europe? Because there is concern, I have to tell you, in other parts of Europe. There was concern in the United States. I never raise the United States anymore because I have lots of concern about what's going on at home. But I'm interested in what the lines are, the red lines are, that you think are important for your colleagues here to be aware of as you talk to each other in honest and candid ways about the democracies you're supposed to be stewarding.
Look, these four countries have brought into the European Union its own authentic transformation experience, which is positive, because we have changed our countries, we have learned a lot, and we offer this experience to others to learn from. We have nothing to be like apologizing for.
Right.
As I said, none of the problems that European Union has been facing lately have been generating in Central Europe. What we value very strongly about European Union is the ability to listen. I mean, many people have make jokes about European Union being slow, but that's actually our strength, that our ability to listen to each other, to accommodate everyone's position, and to come up to something we can all subscribe to. And this is this magic soft power of the European Union. But whenever this principle is abandoned, sorry, it looks like it's me, but I'm not. I don't do it on purpose.
I've just been told that it's your microphone that's blowing up.
Very
so
electric guy.
They're going to come back and take care of you.
That's because you tweet.
Yeah. Donald Trump heard.
Yeah. Whenever we abandon these principles and try to force all the member states into something that has been pre-cooked,
Right.
it doesn't work. So therefore, to call for mutual respect, and again, understanding to each other's position, I sometimes joke, but it's a half joke, half true, that if, let's say, Netherlands is alone against all the other member states, it's called the Dutch position. But when Poland is alone, then it's called, we have a problem with Poland. So it shows that that's true. So why don't we respect each other equally?
So if you're going to get slammed specifically and get the name right, right? That's the...
It's not about
Yeah,
slamming.
yeah, yeah.
It's not about slamming. It's about respect. It's about respect.
Right.
Right now, well, Montenegro's completion of the NATO membership is stuck in the Dutch Senate. Ukraine's DCFTA is
Donald Trump knew that, which is why he said,
it's stuck in the... No, it's stuck in the Dutch Senate. let's try to imagine if it was stuck in one of our 4 parliaments. What would be the media coverage of all this? So, look, European Union is a great thing, and I agree with Vital that it would be good to reflect, but the truth is we have no time to reflect. Because
Right.
the world is not
Vital?
waiting for us. Let me just finish.
Yeah.
We have one big test right now in front of us, which is called Brexit. And the way we manage Brexit will tell us a lot about the future of the European Union,
Right.
about our seriousness as a global player, and about our ability to stay united, because unity is the key word right now.
So before you leave and go to Vitold for a minute, I was going to ask all of you this. About Brexit, is Brexit something that has really wounded Europe, or is it something that you feel like, great, thanks for all the fish, see you later, Brits, that's better to get them out of the union?
It's definitely a bad news for Europe to lose a member, moreover, such an important, prominent member. But it will be the end of the process that will
Right.
tell us what it was, because, it might be also a lesson to help us to learn what are the priorities and how important for us it is to be committed, to be focused, and to be united. So yes, it was a bitter pill, but let's make sure that we will be able to draw positive lessons for the future.
Vitold, on Brexit?
Very briefly to the questions you asked Miroslav before. Asking these questions, you were implying that there is some kind of a pattern of democracy in Europe, and we as a Visegrad countries, or some of the Visegrad countries, we are departing from this model.
I just want to say that's not necessarily my view, but it is a big view.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But that was it was in a way you are implying that
Yeah.
this is kind of a model. No. Our
Well, and the
opinion-
concerns about the rule of law, journalism, universities,
in which
kind of
country?
this.
In which country?
Well, I would say both Poland and Hungary have been the poster children of concern.
And you don't see any problems with the rule of law in other countries outside of the
Believe me,
central part of
after
Central Europe?
Saudi Arabia trip, I have a lot of thoughts.
We're still talking about European Union countries.
Right.
In European Union countries.
No, but I mean, I'm asking you about Poland, that this had come up. So when the broader thing is, when you think about a new Europe, which is our task today, are these institutions feeling there's concern about it? Stolt, your president, who was speaking here before, has been interviewed frequently about these same questions, and I know that you're struggling with them. So I guess the question is, as you look forward, are these institutions going to be healthier, smaller, more controlled, more robust?
So now we can connect this question with the problem of Brexit, because the Brexit is not only the problem of divorce with United Kingdom, is not only the problem of looking for the new position of United Kingdom vis-à-vis European Union, but also this is a problem of reforming European Union. Because for years we were concentrating in European Union on enlargement, on bringing additional countries, Ukraine, Turkey and others, and suddenly we are losing one of the most important country in Europe and of the world, the second economy of Europe, the nuclear power, the member of Security Council. So was this a kind of a capricious decision of the British society? No, it was a decision taken in the democratic way. So we have to think and reflect in the European Union why we are losing such an important country. And if we go to answer that, well, we need more Europe in European Union, or more European Union in Europe, we are not going to solve anything. We are not going to find the reason why the United Kingdom decided to leave Europe. So we have to think, we have to reflect about the situation in European Union, about the role of the Commission, which is not elected in a democratic way. It is selected by the agreement among the party, among the member states. We have to look at the position of the Council, which is composed of the leaders democratically elected in the member states. We have to think about the position of the European Union and about the European Parliament, and the right balance between the European Parliament and the parliaments of the member states. So it's a big discussion among us. Maybe will lead to the opening of the treaties, but we shouldn't concentrate on some issues here in this part of Europe, because they are meaningless. meaningless comparing to the big problems of the European Union itself.
Peter, is there a governance fix in Europe that you'd like to see?
Sorry,
A
governance?
governance fix. You know, what Witold was just raising is that there are significant governance issues in the way the European Union is run today. If you were to identify 2 or 3 fixes that you think are important,
Sorry,
what
I
would
didn't
they
get it. Yeah, right. So I think I can approach to this answer from the perspective of Brexit as well, because we regret that decision a lot. Although we have to respect the decision of the British people, because we have to recognize that it is only the British people to decide about the future of UK. And by the way, it is only the American people to decide about their own president, and not the international media. That was, I think, proved very well. So when it comes to Brexit, you know, we lost the 2nd biggest economy of Europe and the 5th biggest economy of the world, which shows that we have to fix something. Something doesn't work in a proper way. Some reforms were not completed as they should have been. And you know, the problem I see here is that the personal conclusion was drawn on the other side of the channel. But the personal conclusion was not drawn on this side of the channel, because that outcome was not only the failure of the British government at that time, but it was the failure of European Commission, as Witold was referring to as well. So I think yes, there are some major reforms that should have been carried out, and these reforms should be based on respect towards the member states. UK made it very clear what they wanted: stronger national parliaments and some other new phenomenon, which we actually support, and we regret that decision. We think that if you put into consideration the latest challenges, as Miroslav was pointing out, if you have a look at them, then the answers which proved to be successful were not made in Brussels. These successful answers were given by the member states. So that's why I think that we should not further weaken the member states in the European Union. So we should not go towards a United States of Europe, because it leads nowhere. Definitely not to a competitive European Union. So we are totally against this federalist approach. We don't think it leads to a competitive European Union. We think that we should be more put the future on Europe on the sovereignist approach, having strong member states and build on them a strong integration. And don't blame member states according to double standards, because Miro rightly pointed it out. What would have happened if it was Hungary not to ratify the DCFTA with Ukraine? What would you have written in the international media if Hungary would have been the one to block the visa-free regime to Ukraine or to Georgia? What would have been written? And now, as it was a Western European country, well, we take it as a national position. So I think that these double standards should not be applied in European Union, because until these double standards are applied, we will get nowhere, definitely.
I want to go to the audience and begin broadening the conversation, and so, you know, kind of wink at me as we go on. We'll try and make it informal, and I'll say, you know, this is a conversation, so make one question, not 3, as we get, or one comment, not 10. But the thing I'd like to say is that first I want to pay respect to Poland for a minute, to Warsaw, yes, because I was made aware that at the NATO building, which was revealed yesterday, the 2015 NATO summit was listed, the 2017 NATO summit was commemorated on the wall. There was no mention of this fantastic Warsaw summit. There was a big GlobSec forum there, in fact, that Poland hosted. And so, Witold, I want to give you an opportunity and ask you, do you think that was an American plot?
No, definitely. It was negligence of the staff of headquarters, probably. But that was a surprise for us, because just
Have you registered a complaint?
Yes, I wrote at this exhibition, actually the Warsaw 2016, between 2015 and 2017. So this is my stamp, personal stamp on this exhibition. But that was a surprise for us, because a couple hours before we started this opening ceremony, we were received by Secretary General Stoltenberg and others, and during the discussion with President of Poland, all of these members of the headquarters, NATO headquarters, were trying to enhance the meaning of Warsaw Summit as a summit which took a very decisive decisions on the future of security, especially of the eastern flank of NATO. Let me remind you that during the Warsaw Summit we decided to deploy troops for the very first time since the enlargement of NATO since 1999. Thousands of Americans and NATO troops are deployed right now in Poland and the Baltic countries. So this is a huge strategic difference, security difference in the strategic meaning. And neglecting the, excuse me, neglecting this, the Warsaw Summit in such an important exhibition, which was in front of the new NATO headquarters, I don't know, it's a big question mark. What does it mean?
Great. And you're gonna text me later that photo
I
where
will,
you wrote
of course.
Warsaw in, and I'm happy to
course I
share it with anyone. It's fairly dramatic what he did. So thank you. Let's go right here. Tell us who you are.
Natalie Tocci, Director of the Institute for International Affairs in Rome. A question on the future of Europe, and I'm just trying to figure out whether there's a bit of a difference, if not a division going on here. Now, we have heard a fairly strong Hungarian view that the future of Europe has to be about the sovereign sort of equality of the member state, a sort of sovereignist view, if you like, of Europe. We have also heard a criticism, Polish criticism, of the European Commission, saying the European Commission essentially lacks legitimacy, if I interpret you correctly, because it's not directly elected.
Democratic legitimacy.
Exactly. It's
Because
not directly
selected,
elected.
not elected by
Precisely. So presumably the implication of that is that in order for it to be legitimate, it should be directly elected. Now, I cannot imagine a more federalist position than that. So I'm just trying to figure out exactly what is
back to
the
Hamilton
vision
and Jefferson.
of the future of Europe around the panel.
Thank you. Comments, thoughts, the sovereignists versus the federalists.
Answering briefly, of course, I do not claim that European Commission is supposed to be elected in a democratic way, because this is not the possible. This is not the possible way. I think that because it's selected, it doesn't have a democratic legitimacy, it doesn't have a right to be a institution which is monitoring member states. It's just a guardian of treaties, just a guardian of the treaties, you know, and it has a possibility to control us in the color of the treaties, nothing else.
Terrific.
Does not have a possibility to create their own regulation, own standards, and according to the own standards to monitor the member states.
Peter?
Well,
Miro?
If I don't think we are focusing on real issues. I mean, the future of Europe has been drawn by our leaders, and the process started here in Bratislava last September and was reconfirmed in Rome. And the 27 leaders agreed what the issues on the table are, and these issues are not about federalism or sovereignism. These issues are really about migration, about security, about competitiveness, about better communication with our citizens. These are the issues we have to deal with. Plus there is Brexit knocking on our door, plus what worries me is the role of the European Union as a global player. These are the issues. I don't think we have, and through managing and solving these issues, we will show what European Union we have. And this is the way how we can shape and influence the European Union. These are the issues we should be discussing.
Thank you. Thanks for
But to have the global position, we need to keep our house in order.
Right. Vaclav?
Yeah, you actually raised quite an important question. You asked us what we wouldn't like to see in this part of the world as regards to the European Union. And I think I would not like to see moving this part of Europe, this Central Europe, away from the core of Europe. And this, in other words, we would like to see no fragmentation of the European Union. That should be core. And I don't think we need that much changes as far as the institutional framework is concerned. What we really need is to fully used all those instruments, tools that are enshrined in the current treaties, and bring practical results relatively speedily to the citizens of the European Union.
Sandy Vershbaum.
Sandy Vershbaum from the Atlantic Council. I'd like to ask the...
You remember the Warsaw Summit, right?
I do indeed.
Yeah,
Yes,
so I
It's
just
one of
wanna-
the most historic ones
Yeah,
of all.
just-
It
Was
must have been,
deputy-
We're
the
gonna
headquarters isn't finished. They just didn't get to hang that particular
He's the
part
father
this
of
one.
these decisions.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was going to ask about V4 security and defense cooperation, and where that has never quite fulfilled its promise thus far. But now that the Brits are moving out of the EU, there seems to be a new push among others to strengthen the defense role of the EU, and even now the operational headquarters has been agreed under a new name. Where does the V4 stand on this issue? Or do you think there should be a stronger emphasis on strengthening the NATO-EU partnership, which also got a big boost at the Warsaw Summit?
Peter?
Well, good to see you again. Thank you very much for raising this issue. You know, as we understood the decision of Brexit, we put the idea of the common European army on the agenda immediately, because we understand we have to strengthen the security leg in Europe of the transatlantic alliance. To be very honest, I've seen CNN this morning bashing your president, why he raised the issue yesterday in Brussels about the defense expenditures. I have to tell you that whatever he said on the North Atlantic Council, he was totally right. I mean, I really do believe that we Europeans do have to do much more for our own security that we have been doing so far.
Can I ask
That's
you a
why-
question about
that's
that?
why
'Cause-
just
but,
one-
I'm going to ask you to just to clarify that one. On the question of the 2%, and people talk at 2%, what comes to mind to me right away, and that is thinking about missions, objectives, and capabilities that are needed that might go across. I mean, I've been interested in the Czech Republic, for instance, having one of its divisions roped in with the Germans. It's a different way to think about it than money and percentages. And I'm just wondering, are we making a mistake? And I just want to hear from you. Are we making a mistake talking about numbers rather than capabilities and objectives?
You know, that was a decision in Wales, as far as I understand, that we have to approach to 2%. I agree with those ones who say that that should not be the only point of measurement. I totally subscribe to that, but we should not put this into parentheses. We have to reach 2%. We have not reached 2% either. We are far away. We are 1.01%, but we have a clear plan how to get to 2% until 2024. Of course, I think that the participation in international missions is extremely important as well. I am proud to say that I'm representing a country which is among the 27 countries on the globe which sends real troops to a real fight against terrorism. We have 150 troops serving in Erbil currently. We would like to increase this number to 200. We hope that since we are short of 2 or 3 seats to two-third majority in the Hungarian government, we hope we will get some support from the opposition in order to increase our efforts to fight against terror. So we hope we'll have 200 in a couple weeks in Erbil, and we have been, of course, taking part in many other missions altogether, more than 900 Hungarian troops serving outside of the country, which is nothing to American dimension, but please, I'm representing a small country. But when it comes to your position regarding security, I wouldn't put energy security into parentheses either, especially because we are representing Central European countries here, where energy security is an extremely important question. And you know, I really remember when the European Commission killed a project called South Stream, which would have been a source of diversification, a route of diversification for Central Europe, saying it's a political project, it bypasses Ukraine, it's not helpful. And then now what we see is that Nord Stream 2, as it is being made with the cooperation of Western European energy companies and Gazprom, is flying. So, you know, when it comes to security, then I think we should fight against double standards in Europe.
Miroslav, I know you want to jump in on this, but I also want to ask you that the other thing Donald Trump said yesterday was that not only did he want nations to kind of kick up to their 2%, but that they had a lot of past obligations. They owed money back for years. And I'd just love to hear your thoughts on that notion. Are the Visegrad countries willing to kind of dip into their treasuries and pay back for past obligations?
Look, NATO is much more than just the sum of defense budgets of its member states. At the same time, I want to say that Yes, we have made our commitments to meet the 2% benchmark when we joined NATO, and then we repeated in Wales, and it has to be done. And everybody knows that. But it's not that simple, because you cannot, or you should not, cut your contributions to the development assistance, humanitarian assistance, and at the same time demand increase the hard security budgets, for example. So plus, in our case, 0.1% increase of GDP on defense spending means 10% increase in actual figures, because our economy is doing well. So don't simplify this just to figures, because it's much more than that. But to also answer to your original question, I do believe that European Union should strengthen its common security and defense policy. I wouldn't go as far as to speak about European army. I don't think this is in the cards, and it's needed, but we need much closer and stronger cooperation between the European Union and NATO, which would be based on complementarity.
Let's get this gentleman here, yes.
Hi there, Joseph Frick, BA Systems. We're talking a lot about the future. And really, in my opinion as well, I hope people agree here, the future is the generation that's coming up, my generation. As you can probably tell, I'm from England. And
I thought it was Oklahoma.
But also, you know, I think the other thing I want to add as well
Quick question.
is the demographic changes. And, you know, I come from a diverse background myself.
Right.
Do you think that, especially in my generation, those changes demographically coming from all sorts of areas of Europe is going to mean that we become more integrated? Because it's certainly something that I would like to see, and I know that lots of people in my generation would like to see as well.
I want to ask Peter to take it. He was president of the Young Fidelitas, am I saying it correctly, the young youth movement of his party there, and so that was your pathway to power. So this is your question.
Well, thank you.
Your generation.
Well, actually, you know, demographic challenges we have been faced with in Hungary in a, let's say, very serious manner. And we understand this is a serious challenge for the whole European Union. And there are some different answers which have been put together. I think it's family policy, which is the right answer on that. At least that is what we have been trying in Hungary, how to make it possible for the families to raise more kids, to be in a capacity to raise more kids. So if you speak about whether more integration is the answer, when it comes to the future generations, I would say yes. Of course, one of the biggest benefits of belonging to the European Union is that you can go to study anywhere in the European Union. Then you hopefully come back with new skills and new experiences and contribute to the success of your own country.
Can I just quickly, Bottom, we're going to go over there, and we're going to keep broadening this, but just ask all of you in just very short form. When we were at the Warsaw NATO summit, and I had a conversation with Sandy Vershbaum, we were looking at the protocols that came out of that discussion. I think there were 3 lines that had to do with cyber. And Vaclav, I know you used to do cybersecurity in one of your previous roles. But it really raised the question of, in the framework that was looked at, whether you're fighting old wars, thinking about old ways of doing institutions, and I think it gets to this generational question of how much of the work that we all do is really focused on the past institutional side. And I was talking to Sandy about the wartime, the sort of the military planning side of it, and I think there were 3 lines on cyber in those protocols that came out. And when it came to sort of looking at hybrid war and these sort of generational changes, I'm interested in the broader concept generationally of how much inside Europe we're a prisoner of old structures, old thinking, and we really need to kind of go back and begin redrafting. Witold, I know you've talked a little bit about this in terms, and Poland has been a major drafter, everything from trying to look at how to change UN governance to other governance frameworks. But is there a important generational change and shift in what might be imaginable or possible if we escape some of these last generation institutions?
Well,
I know you were
I don't have a Twitter, so...
yeah.
But in the last election, in 2015, actually, we attracted a young generation. My party, Law and Justice Party, attracted the young generation. And
Right.
they using social media, actually, they help us to win the election. That was a big surprise, not only in Poland, but in the so-called liberal Europe, that the traditional conservative party, which after, in this part of the world,
Right.
after 25 years of ideological pressure, not only survive, but also dare to win the election. in such a large scale, and won the election also because of the support of the social media and young generation. So this is partially the answer to you, that we pay attention to these aspects. Let me also mention yesterday discussions during there was not the summit, there was a meeting of NATO, and Donald Trump concentrated partly on discussion on fighting terrorism. And he mentioned something that we in the United States invented the internet, but now they are using it smarter and better. So we have to beat them to come back to our invention, learn better how to use it. So it's an important issue, just touch upon that. Cyber war, cyber security is very important for us, because everyone can be affected right now, not by the neighbor, but the country which is distantly located, not even by the country, by the group of people. So, and let's come back to this, to the fundings, to the burden sharing. You know, for years in NATO, we were foolish ourselves that we have to invent a smart defense, intelligent defense. We were thinking about do more for less. No, security is not granted forever. Peace is not granted forever. So to keep the peace, to keep the security, we have to invest. And to invest in the cyber, into security against a hybrid war, the new kind of a wars, we have to pay.
Show of hands on stage. Are the Russians hacking into your political system? No
Come on.
hands?
We are not-
Peter, yeah, they are?
We are not living in Mars, and I'm representing a small country, so we got used to attempts of, let's say, interference, external interference into
So that's a yes.
our internal politics. And
So you're
and I
resilient now.
no, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, we are a small country, so definitely there are these attempts happening since we have been in power. We try to protect ourselves from them. At the end of the day, it's the Hungarian people to make the decision.
Vaclav, were you so good at cybersecurity that Russian is not a problem for the Czech Republic? Short form, yes or no? Okay.
Obviously, we live in Central Europe, and there are big powers who have some interests also in this part of the world.
God, you guys, you would do terribly on yes/no exams. I just know it. Yes, sir, right here.
Hello, Wojciech Przybylski, Visegrad Inside Magazine, 3 copies downstairs available on prosperity. Self-promotion just did, because my question is about money.
Yeah.
The future of New Europe is going to be about euro. Will there be a position of Visegrad Group on the Eurozone, or how do you want to keep your influence as a Visegrad Group in the Europe that is having
Miroslav,
potentially
let me toss this to you.
a stronger Eurozone
Thank
integration?
you. Miroslav?
Well, we are members of Eurozone,
Right.
and we wish all the members of the European Union to join the Eurozone. It would be much easier for us. There will be no multi-speed Europe or no different groups. It's about meeting the criteria, making the commitments, and as a matter of fact, it's part of the commitments. Eurozone is the core group of the European Union. This is where the most important decisions are made. So I really think that it would be good for Europe if every member of the European Union was also a member of the Eurozone.
Yes, right here.
Good afternoon. I'm Josip Brkic, Deputy Foreign Minister of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Greetings to my colleagues and the rest of the auditorium. 50 minutes talking and the vision of New Europe, and we didn't touch upon the, I would say, immediate region for the Central Europe, which is the Southeast Europe. Thankful for all the good work that you're doing within the Council, and especially during the Slovak presidency, for the future of my European perspective of my country. But we're facing, if not mistaken, a couple of times European Council without conclusions on the enlargement. Is this the blueprint that is going to European Council to continue? Or there could be a more political statement within the Council as regard to the European perspective of the Western Balkans and other candidate countries?
Can I thank you very much for that? And can I ask the four of you in short form to address not only this question, but Charlie Kupchin, the former senior director for European Affairs in the White House. wrote a piece today in the New York Times saying that NATO should freeze its expansion as well. And I'm just wondering, on both those fronts, both on your criteria of looking at expansion of the European Union, but also this provocative notion that NATO should close the door, where you are on that. Miroslav?
Yeah. That would be a grave mistake, because you cannot take away a perspective of these countries, and you cannot expect European reforms without European perspective. And the perspective is the membership in the European Union and NATO. So no here. And second, Josip, you know, it's not the most sexy topic now in the European Union, but at the same time, the policy is there, it stays, it's valid. But yes, it is appreciated when you provide excuse not to speak about enlargement. And unfortunately, your region is producing a number of excuses, so therefore the enlargement is not featured as prominently as it was before.
Peter,
it's in your hands.
Reactions, thoughts?
You know, I'm coming from a country which is directly a neighbor of the Western Balkan region. So from our very recent history, we exactly know the difference of the situation when there's peace and prosperity in the Western Balkans, and when there's no peace and when there's instability in the Western Balkans. So that's why we see that there are bigger and bigger tensions, more and more serious tensions raising in the Western Balkan region. And we think that the best way to overcome them is European and Euro-Atlantic integration. So actually, we are absolutely dissatisfied with those positions which are reflecting kind of enlargement fatigue, both on the side of European Union and NATO. We are committed supporters of enlargement, both EU and NATO. And we think that, that the European and Euro-Atlantic inspirations or encouragements of these countries in the Western Balkan region should be supported much more. So we think that Serbia and Montenegro should be integrated into European Union as soon as possible. We think that Bosnia-Herzegovina should be integrated into a strategic partnership with NATO as soon as possible. And I really feel sorry for Macedonia, because I think that if we had given the opportunity of a quicker progress on the European and Euro-Atlantic integration path for Macedonia, we could have avoided the destabilization of that country.
We're going to go to this gentleman here, then we're going to go to Eptisam, Alet Kebi here, and I'm going to start calling. There are lots of guys that are putting their hands up, almost no women are, so let's fix that. I just believe we don't have balance up here, so let's have balance out here. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you very much. My name is Peter Havlik. I'm from Vienna Institute for International Economic Studies. I've been a little bit puzzled to hear from the speakers, not only from you,
don't move your microphone.
Mr. Chairman, that you have mixed sometimes Europe and the European Union.
Right.
And in this context, I would put additional question related to enlargement. What do you see about the European Union perspective for Ukraine?
Well, Vitold, why don't you take that?
That's this answer.
Yeah.
The question is related to the former question, of course, and we are very much united as a Visegrad countries that we think that the open door policy of NATO and European Union is supposed to be alive. And we concentrate not only on the Western Balkans or Balkans at all, but also on the Eastern Partnership. And these partnership countries are very much important for us, especially Ukraine, which is our big neighbor and deserves to be part of Europe. Our position, the common position, is that the project of Europe, free, transform, democratic, and safe and secure, is not finished, is not implemented. So we have to concentrate and focus on further enlargement to the end of the European borders.
Thank you. Eptisam.
Yeah. I was in Sochi last October and attending Valdai Club where Putin is there. And one of the conclusions about Europe, that Europe is lacking a leadership. So there is no future for Europe. This is one of the conclusions. How do you respond to that?
Wow.
I disagree.
That's a friendly criticism of where are the leaders in Europe. And your answer, Miroslav?
Of course there is a future for Europe, because this is the project that we've created. It's the most successful project on this planet when it comes to political stability economic prosperity and the protection of human rights. There is no other group of countries that has achieved such a high level in all these and many other indicators. And we want to continue with this project, so no one is going to take away this project from us. We have our problems, but we are dealing with these problems. And you can criticize this or that, but I will always ask, compared to what? So, and then you will see the supremacy in the positive sense of the European project. That's how we see the European Union.
May I also answer about
about
the leadership? We have number of politicians and a number of leading bureaucrats. They are not perfect. We criticize them, some of them like hell, but I wouldn't replace any one of them by Putin.
That's what we call a tweetable moment. Yes, Lawrence. Or Jonathan.
Jonathan Isle, apropos Putin. Can I ask you, do you think that there is a V4 position on Russia? And do you think there is a consensus on what the threats facing Europe are, especially with a newly elected French president and a newly elected German government by September this year?
Both of them are not a threat for us.
What, Macron?
None of them is a threat for us.
I suspected as much. Yeah. But nevertheless, there would be a temptation to look again at where we are with Russia. And so, is this a European-wide question, or is it something that the V4 can offer something specific?
Right. Can the V4 offer something specific? Miroslav.
The answer to your question is yes and no. Yes, there is a common V4 position because there is a common NATO position and there is a common European Union position. Of course, when it comes to nuances, there are slight differences among us, but it does not change the fact that, yes, we as a part of EU and NATO, we are part of the common position. We in Slovakia believe that what is lacking on the EU side is dialogue, which is what we have on the NATO side. So I personally believe that critical dialogue is better than the absence of any dialogue at all. Being a diplomat, I have to believe in dialogue. So this is our position, but it's not in contradiction to the existing positions of NATO and the European Union.
Václav, quick comment on that?
I can agree what was just said because there is no unified position of Visegrad countries on every aspect of foreign policy or European integration. We tend to table just issues on which we can agree and build upon them.
Thank you. Peter, we'll come right to you in the next question. But yes.
Okay. Teresa Fallon, Center for Russia, Europe, Asia Studies. A quick question about European unity. Last July, there was a statement issued by the EU. It was held up for 3 days, mostly because of Hungary taking the Chinese position. So it was on the arbitral tribunal decision on July 12th, and the EU gave a statement on July 15th. Everyone I interviewed...
God, that's a lot of detail.
Okay, but I'm sorry. So the Hungarians actually were very pro-China. And after the EU issued a statement, and I haven't found any other examples, the Hungarians issued a separate statement, which made Federico Mogherini crazy. And so how do you talk about European unity when Hungary actually takes statements separate? And some have interpreted as a way for China to actually buy an EU statement. Thanks.
Peter, I wondered how we were going to bring China into this discussion, and I'm really happy we've now done that. So,
you know, I can understand people who are really fed up with these simplified pro or counter positions. We are not pro-Chinese, we are not pro-anyone, we are pro-Hungarians. And sometimes, yes, our position may differ from the others. But why don't you ask why Netherlands have not implemented the free trade agreement with Ukraine for almost a year? I mean, isn't it a problem? But it's a problem that sometimes we have a separate position on China. Our position is the following, that China is becoming one of the biggest economies of the world. Is it Europe's interest to be able to build a pragmatic cooperation with China? My position is yes. Our understanding is that the phenomenon that the capital is flowing from west to east looking for cheap labor is over. Now the capital is flowing from east to west. More and more successful Chinese, Japanese, Korean companies are increasing their market shares in Europe looking for investments. Do we have to, or should we carry out a, let's say, pragmatic cooperation with China? Yes, I do think so. And do I think that sometimes the European Union tries to lecture countries which it shouldn't? Yes, I do think so. So with that statement, we were absolutely not happy. And can I ask you why we should have agreed with that if we have not agreed with that?
But you
this
could
is
tell
all
him
right.
and during coffee.
It's all right.
Thank you. Yes, right here.
Thank you.
And we're going to do fast lightning round here, fast questions, fast
Member
answers.
of Parliament in an opposition in Hungary. You've mentioned Macron just a couple of minutes ago, and he has very outspoken and very progressive and strong ideas of how the future of the European should be, and very ambitious plans. Mr. Lajczak, you said that you would be happy that all the Visegrad countries would join the Eurozone and would go ahead. So I really wonder what the other countries are saying about that, specifically that you are more or less all worried about that the Visegrad countries may stay in the periphery of the EU. Thank you very much.
Well, we calculated very the situation, economic situation, and for years I think that we are not going to be part of Eurozone. We are not going to accept the euro currency for a number of reasons. The first one is economic reason. It's right now much better off for the economy of this size like Poland to stay away from the Eurozone. Eurozone is progressing in a speed of more or less 1%. We are developing ourselves right now in the speed of 4%. So it's obvious calculation that this is not a good idea to join and to accept this euro currency. The second problem is that joining the Eurozone, we will lose some instrument of economic development, of sovereignty. So this is another second problem why we want to keep it. Because as a country, as an economy which is trying to catch up with the most developed economies of the European Union, we need to keep our prerogatives in our hands.
Thank you. Peter, did you want to respond quickly?
Well, actually, we have the opportunity to respond on these questions in the Hungarian Parliament. By the way,
I bet those are fun sessions.
No. I mean, we are very happy that we had some support from the opposition regarding sending troops to Iraq 2 years back, and you were one of the ones to support. And I really do hope that we can count on your support this time as well. But when it comes to the euro issue, you know, in Hungary, it is being written in the constitution that the national currency is forint. So whenever you want to change it, you need a two-thirds majority for that. The second issue is that we have a very simple understanding of recent history of the Eurozone, which was that you should only join Eurozone if, number one, you are totally ready, and number two, if Eurozone is totally ready.
You know, just as we close up in the last few minutes and perhaps like 30 seconds each, I just want to ask you one key question. The big drama in America today is the reporting about Donald Trump's failure to say that he would stand by Article 5, the NATO commitment to defend all of you if you're attacked, to see an attack on one as an attack on all. And there is an enormous convulsion inside the United States about what that failure to stand by Article 5 means. Do you feel that the United States is abandoning its commitment to you? Do you see this sounds like the constant sort of Wilsonian thing. Do you see a world that you'd like to be from Donald Trump, or the world as it is with regard to Article 5? But I'd like to get, just as we close today, your quick thoughts in closing. Vaclav?
No, I don't think that the commitment of the United States to NATO, to the alliance, is diminishing. I don't believe this.
So you're okay?
We are not okay. We have to be obviously careful, but now it is also important for us to devise a credible and also not just devise, but also to implement a credible national plan, and for us Europeans as such to do more on not just to spend more, but also to show more determination to act.
Thank you, Peter.
Well, I was there yesterday on a meeting of the NATO heads of state and government, and what I heard there from President Trump was that he's committed to the cooperation with the European allies. He's committed to NATO. He's committed to fulfill.
Would you have liked him to go a little further?
Sorry?
Would you have liked him to go further?
Would I have?
Would you have liked Donald Trump to go further?
No, I mean, I can refer to what he has said. And he said that they will fulfill their obligations. They want Europeans to fulfill their obligations as well. So whatever I heard from him yesterday in the meeting made me relaxed.
Miroslav.
Well, the optimistic interpretation of his words is that the commitment under Article 5 is so obvious that there was no need to mention it. But I would still have preferred if it was mentioned.
Witold.
Well, I think it's an artificial debate because we have proofs in Poland of Article 5. We have 5,000 American troops in Poland. It is much better than just declaratory mentioning Article 5. I prefer to have 5,000 troops from the United States in Poland, and this is a commitment.
That sounds like a definitive, great way to close. I should say, one of the things, the fun things I was doing with our panel before they came in, but I only got to Witold and Miroslav, and ask them what their hobbies were. So I have no idea what Peter does for fun. I imagine it's like hang gliding or something, and Vaclav. But I loved the fact that Miroslav told me that his favorite obsession is roller skating. And Witold's hobby is work, work, work. And so between that, we've had a wonderful conversation, both fun and obviously very serious. Before I thank you, I want to tell everyone before we give them a big round of applause, refreshments are going to be available in the foyer. Want you to be back in your seats at 4:30 for our next session on the Middle East. That's at 4:30. And in the Danube space just outside the lobby at 4:50, just 10 minutes to 5, the discussion at the GlobSec Future Forum will be on cybercrime and cybersecurity, which we also touched on here. Please give a big, big round of applause to Miroslav Lajcek, Vaclav Kolaya, Peter Siarto, and Witold Wojciechowski. Thank you all very much. Thank you all.